Persistence without insight will lead to the same outcome. Hi folks, Matt Easton here, Schola Gladiatoria. Now, like many of you out there, I've been watching the Book of Boba Fett, or as some people are calling it, Mandalorian Season 2.5. But I'm enjoying it anyway, hugely, and I don't care about any of the criticism, I love it. But in episode 5 of Book of Boba Fett, there was a statement made by the armourer, the Mandalorian armourer, to Din Djarin, which really resonated with me, and that is this statement here, that persistence without insight will lead to the same outcome. Now, this is being applied specifically in this case to the fact that he is, I don't want to give spoilers here, but he is struggling with an element of his training. It's just not working for him. And so he says, I'll try it again. I want to try it again. I want to try harder. Now, this is absolutely something that I think that anybody who has practiced any type of sport or martial art to any degree will have experienced at some point. Now, what I don't want you to take away from this is the fact that I think that just practicing again and again and again and again is completely useless. It's not, okay? So if we put this in a HEMA, or historical European martial arts context, there are some people who fence or spar a lot, and definitely by doing that, by training essentially a lot, particularly against resisting opponents who are trying to hit you back, then you do gain things from that. Obviously, you gain cardio exercise, you gain some extra strength, you're spending time with your weapons or your particular art, so you're increasing your levels of familiarity with it and all of this kind of stuff. Yes, you're gaining something from it. However, and I have spoken about this a couple of times in previous videos, but I think quite a long time ago, and it's a very good thing to remind us of this. There are some people who spar and spar and spar, or fence and fence and fence, but they don't change or analyze or improve what they're doing. Literally all they're doing is repeating that exact same thing over and over again. And for me, that's what this statement from the armourer in the Book of Boba Fett really, that's why it resonates with me, because I've seen this so many times in my own training, but also my students, people who I've been training over the last 20-25 years. And where people will just go, okay, we will just keep sparring, we will just do more sparring, but then they don't stop and analyse what they're doing. So to be more explicit and more specific on that, what I mean is when you are sparring, you must analyse what went right, what went wrong, and why, and how to improve. If you're not doing that, then ultimately your sparring is unlikely to get better. You are unlikely to magically start doing better in tournaments or fencing against people in your club. You're unlikely to improve. Improvement has two main elements to it. One is the actual practice, and the other is the analysis of that practice. Now, how do we analyze this practice? Well, there are a couple of ways. There are three main ways that come to mind, actually. Okay, so one of them is from an instructor. Okay, so if you're sparring, getting coaching or doing one-on-one training with an instructor, and this is something that's done in modern sport fencing and loads of martial arts, doing feedback or coached sparring is incredibly valuable. Okay, so if you can do that, even if you're sparring 5 days a week, if one of those days you can do it purely as coach sparring with feedback, where you try to work on specific things that are weaknesses or things that you're doing wrong or things that you can improve, that will just be invaluable. Okay, the second type of constructive training you can do that will improve and help you step up is to get feedback from the other people who you fence with. Okay, so in other words, external feedback. Maybe not a coach, it might just be your regular sparring partner. It could even be someone in competition. Okay, so say you go to a tournament, you fight in a tournament, that person, it doesn't matter whether you win or they win, but get some feedback from them. Say, how was that? How did, what did you find were my weaknesses? What were my openings? What do you think I need to work on? Hugely valuable feedback, and sometimes fellow people training or competing against you will notice things that sometimes an instructor won't notice. And the third and final one is in some sense the most important because it's present wherever you are. And that's you, okay? Now, this is the one that an awful lot of people training martial arts don't seem to get. And that is they spar or fence over and over and over again, but they don't analyse their own success or behaviour critically. Now, one way that you can help to do this is by videoing it, so long as the other person's consenting. You don't need to share this anywhere, you don't need to stick it on YouTube, you don't need to put it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever. You can just keep it for you, you can just look at it. Sometimes looking at yourself sparring or fencing, fighting is extremely illuminating, and you will realise yourself from watching yourself that you do things you didn't know you do, and there might be things you don't do that you thought you were doing. There might be tells, you know, little signs you're showing the opponent, openings you're leaving and things like this. But in addition, even without video, even if you don't want to go through the rigmarole of doing that, each time you do a fight and within the fight, okay, analyse what you're doing, what's working. If something's not working, okay, then you need to change something. If it's repeatedly not working, don't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Think, why isn't this working? Is it because of something I'm doing wrong? Is it simply because the other person's more experienced and better than me and they're able to see what I'm trying to do and it's not working? Be critical and analytical the whole time. Obviously, at the end of the fight, think, okay, how did that go? How could I have done better? What was I doing wrong? But equally within the fight, and if you can change the way you fight within a fight, that's a huge, huge strength, especially if you're changing in the correct way that's going to eradicate some of the flaws of what you've been doing and try and improve on your success rate. So just to reiterate, I have over the last couple of decades seen a lot of people who spar a lot, but sometimes I might only see them several times a year or a few times a year, maybe even once a year at an event like Fight Camp that I run, and they don't seem to be improving. They just look exactly the same each time. And to me, that's indicative of the fact that they are not being critical and analytical of their training. They are just repeating the same behaviour over and over and over again. So it comes back to this statement from the armourer in the Book of Boba Fett that persistence alone will just lead to the same outcome. You have to be analytical and critical, and you can get other people's help with that. That could be your coach or your instructor, or it could be other people you train with, or indeed you can get your own feedback and you can be critical of your own performance. And you know, sometimes you will find new ways of doing that by asking other people for feedback. Presumably if you're sparring against other people, so even if you're not getting one-on-one coached sessions, you can still get invaluable feedback from those people as well. And I know in some cases people who've trained together for years and not really asked the other person, so how do you always get that hit on me? What am I doing that's making me exposed to that? So use the people you train with. They are an invaluable resource. I hope this has been interesting. I'm very interested in hearing your experiences and feedback, your ideas, how you can get around this issue in the comments below. If you're not subscribed, please do, and give us a like, and I'll see you back on the channel really soon for another video. Cheers, folks. Thanks for watching. We've got extra videos on Patreon. Please give our Facebook a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers, folks.